here we go. 21 images in the basic category. And you can read the titles in the bottom left.
Hang on. Some issues with Zoom.
Okay, that's the 21 images that we'll be looking at. For those of you who are new to this or who forgot what we do, the judges have looked at all the images and they've scored them in 6 categories with scores that range from 1 to 100. The average of those scores becomes the composite score for each image, and the judges' composite scores are then totaled for each image to give us the winning images. Also, the judges do some critiquing online on the website so that their thoughts about the images are recorded. Each judge is assigned 1/3 of the images to do that. And then finally, at the time of the meeting, which is now, each judge is going to comment, do an oral critique on 3 images in each category. So we'll have 9 images in each category get critiqued. And they can be selected because they're great, or they can be selected because there's something that could use improvement, or if there's some technical reason the judge wanted to expound upon, they have, a choice of which ones they want to talk about. So without any more talk from me, let's go to the images and the critiques. So again, the basic group. Okay, first image, concentration, and that one will not have an oral critique tonight. This is Brian Nixon, I believe, is going to talk about this image.
Yes, I am. I really like this image. As someone that has taken a few action shots, this is a really great capture. Everything is in focus where it needs to be in focus. You see his expression clearly, sense of concentration, great use of colors. The red is a little blown out. You might want to take the highlights down a little bit so you see more texture in his outfit. My main issue with the photo, it's not even an issue, but with shots like this, if you want to get that dramatic feeling going on, you need to show a lot more of the drop off. So you have a sense of dread or a sense of urgency with the fact that he's doing a stunt off of, I'm assuming just by judging it, it looks like he's off on the back of a truck of some kind, like a semi, just so you get an idea of what he's looking at from his point of view. It would add a lot more drama to the photo, but technically, it's a great photo. It's just a little less cropping, show a little bit more of the drop off next time you happen to be photographing a motocross guy doing an impossible stunt on the edge of a truck. Great image.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Is my audio coming in okay now?
Yep. I'm hearing it fine.
Okay, I switched headsets. Okay, next is on a roll, and Josh is going to talk about this one.
Yeah. So what I like about this photo, and I'm guessing it's the same person that did the Jenga one as well, but I want to talk about one of the things that I like to reward is the difference between taking a photo and making a photo. And for being in the basic group, this is pretty great for making a photo, right? This didn't happen by chance. Didn't happen by chance. He's rolling the dice. Come on, stay with me. But what I liked is, there's that good motion blur in the dice, good detail in the hands. I mean, you can almost, take a fingerprint reader and like unlock your laptop with that detail on the finger. But I really want to commend like going out and creating photos and images based on an idea. And so that's kind of what I mean when I say like making the photo instead of taking the photo. What I would say technically about this, it's a roll of the dice, but we don't know what the stakes are. And so I think it'd be really cool if there was like, I don't know, a whiskey glass or some poker chips or I don't know, a wedding ring, right? Something to tell the story. Like, what are they rolling the dice on, right? Why is it decisive? I think this would be a good, illustrative or the beginning of this as an illustrative work in like in an editorial magazine or like a story on something, right? It's kind of got that good graphic going on. But I think there's just a little bit too much dead space kind of off to the right-hand side of the frame. And that's kind of where I would say, throw in something else, just a hint. It doesn't have to be a full glass or a full chip, but just have some of that in there to kind of tell more of the story, kind of finish telling the story out.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Okay, next image. This is critical, 230,000 plus dead. And we do not have a commentary tonight.
Can I say something to this?
You can.
Although, I mean, as basic photos, sorry, not basic photos, as in a basic photo, but as this this experience group goes, this is probably one of the most original that I've seen. I understand what they were trying to do, and it was very creative. The photo falls kind of flat just on a technical level, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff to this photo that is, you have anger in the background. They're sitting on a map of the country. I mean, I see where they're trying to go with it, and it was a risk, and it needs to be rewarded. With some more experience and stuff, this could be. I mean, this kind of a concept can go really far and have a really big emotional impact. It was a good first attempt. I really appreciated this photo.
Thanks for mentioning that. Okay. Brian, this is for you to talk about here today, gone tomorrow.
I like this photo. It's a great capture of the butterfly getting pollen from whatever flower that is. I would have liked to have seen more saturation. Okay, one of two things: more saturation on the leaves, bringing the leaf, making them more vibrant, or the other way is since it's already sort of desaturated, going a little bit further and desaturating it, but selecting the flowers and bringing that saturation up, so that just sort of brings the separation of the butterfly and the flowers away from the green. Since the green is so prominent in the background, it would give them more separation. But knowing that you're never, in the right place to really catch a butterfly since they have a mind of their own, great shot.
Okay. Falling to pieces. This is another one of that Jenga building downtown. A fishing, not another bird picture. And Charles, you're going to make a couple comments here?
Sure. I mean, this is just, on the basis of this is amazing photo, you know. But I think the thing that struck me here, you know, was not just the basic, you know, catching it at the right moment, you know, but also being able to engage a couple of other concepts. You know, we're the image itself is backlit so that it's, you know, kind of even has a hair light sort of effect, you know, which is pretty unusual for a bird. And of course, it also makes the water droplets pop, and the water droplets themselves are, you know, there's a concept called completion, you know, that you know, where you want to make that a solid stream even though it isn't really, and you know, that gets your attention. um, and also the way the bird itself pops out from the background is another figure ground principle that's applied to this one. And I just I was just so impressed about how you know, the bird, the how it separated popped out from the background, and the contrast uh, that that just made this a real winner.
I just want to make one observation because I had a picture which wasn't just similar to this, which wasn't sharp enough. But notice how there's water coming out of the fish's mouth. I've seen that before. Or fish gets swung around and the water comes flying out.
Yeah.
So this is all right. Enough of that.
Last gasp before it's dead. Oh well.
Yeah. This one's called "Are You Dinner?" And this one, it's up. And Josh is going to talk about this.
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm guessing I don't know if it's sunrise or sunset, but either way, good job of staying all the way through or getting up real early. One of the two. Normally, hot air balloons go off in the morning, so I was assuming it was sunrise. But now that I think about it, it could be either. I don't know. Um, Love the color. We have a good contrast from blue to orange, right? That gradation, especially from the top right to the lower left. So we have a good color contrast going on. We have a little bit of a silhouette, and then we have those flames coming up. So we have some good things going on. You know, good choice of going with silhouette. Silhouettes are always kind of evocative, and you could kind of place yourself in the scene right within the person. What I would suggest, though, a couple things. I feel like there was a better photo somewhere around this. I don't know how close you could have gone. Um, but one of the easiest changes would be to crop up. I know the hand might have been cropped up, but those trees at the bottom, just like the tops of the trees, are kind of distracting. Um, and I think cleaning it up to make it more graphic, and just coming up just a little bit with a crop, even from like the left up just a little bit to get rid of that tree line. And it's going to make it a more graphic photo where we don't have it'll be less real, but I think it would be better. And then also, I think just kind of coming around a little bit, if you could have. Um, I feel like the person kind of gets lost in the arms of the basket, and so finding a way to frame them with those baskets to be able to show their full silhouette. I know in the moment, right? That's not all that's possible, but again, this is in make believe land of photo critiquing where anything can happen. But also going lower. I think instead of cropping, if you'd have dropped down and got the camera lower and shot up more, I think it could have shown more of the balloon that he's lighting. But the reason I say go to the left a little bit, the balloon in the back is kind of it's there, but it's not really there because all the action's blocking it. And so moving left a little bit is going to separate that second balloon behind the fire away from the basket. And then that would have, excuse me, and then that would have given you a good rule of odds where you had the basket we're firing and the two in the background. And so just moving it just that little bit, we could capture three, and getting a little bit lower, and we get rid of all the tree line kind of all at once. So that's what I would do.
Okay, thanks, Josh. And next is Pensive Monkey. And Charles, you got this one.
Yeah, this one, you know, on the face of it, pardon the pun. Okay. Not intentional. This is this is basically a portrait. You know, I mean, you're thinking, well, it's a monkey. You know, so of course, it's not something where you're going to ever I mean, you can't use the standard like rules of getting the we can't really pick pick a light pattern in the face. We're not going to get to do butterfly lights or Rembrandt. But still we've got the face is just perfectly sharp. We even have catch lights in the eyes, and then we've got the we've managed to separate the monkey from the background, and so that green in the back just pops it up from the background, and the white around the face, just it's a built-in frame. So you've got layers of frame going on in this one image. First the one within itself, and then the green and the red of the looks like a limb or tree trunk in the right hand foreground. I just you look in the eyes and you're wondering what's there. It's as human as you can get without being human. It's just an amazing photo.
Okay. Say cheese. Pronghorns posing. You got their attention, I think. Swing, batsman. November 3rd, 2020. Charles.
Yep. Well, it's not much for color, but I love it's basically it's almost a black and white photo, but the splash of the pencil and the fingers popping out, just this great contrast, and you've got the lines running all through it. Part of them are from the shadows. You see how sharp the shadow is of the pencil that's literally leading you to the point right there. And we kind of appreciate that we can't actually tell who we're voting for. That's not the point. Sorry, didn't mean that pun again. But this one's very topical, and I appreciate that that this one, it's kind of it's kind of more of a pun for our subject than we expect, but I appreciate the use of that, and think thought it should be rewarded and treated it accordingly. But
Okay.
it's 6 months from now, we'll look at this and we'll go like, okay, but right now, I mean, it's at the moment.
6 months, they'll still be counting it. All right, next is Watch the Sunrise. This is interesting. ISS transit, got to be quick. And Josh, you're going to talk about this.
Yeah, I love being able to see the metadata on photos. So I hope when you submit them, you don't strip all that stuff out, because I like seeing the camera settings. It helps me to kind of judge what's going on here. I'm going to remind y'all that this is the basic class. Like, holy jeez.
No, there are clearly some photos in this class on this particular competition that definitely need to upgrade to intermediate.
Yeah. Some of y'all are going to be like Premier League relegated and bumped up here, or not relegated, but promoted. But the camera settings on this one were, I think it was like ISO 3200 f9, 1/32 hundredth of a second, which is like NFL like playoff like speed, right? Like very fast shutter speed. And so I was curious. I don't know who shot this, but I wanted to ask him, like, how many frames at that shutter speed were you able to get before it was gone? I was kind of curious on that. But if I have to be picky, two things. One, I don't know how, but this photo looks slightly back focused. Like the details toward the back of the moon look sharper than the details to the front of the moon. I don't know how that's possible, because you would figure hyperfocal distance is only like 100 feet, and this is thousands of miles away. So, but it just feels like if you look at the lower left and the top right of the moon, it's more detailed, And so I don't know, it may just be my eyes playing tricks on me. The other thing I would say is, and again, I know this is like crazy nitpicky, but I would prefer the ISS to be over the wider part of the moon instead of the darker part, so that there's more contrast there. Because as it is, it kind of gets lost a little bit in the I don't know what like bay it is, but it's it's in a deeper shadowy part of the moon.
I have to admit, I didn't even see the satellite when I looked at this picture.
Yeah.
I'm
But-
with you. I didn't know it was there until I read the title.
Mm-hmm.
Me neither.
But in remarks to Josh's comment about the back focusing, I mean, that could be a product of the shadows and the highlights. It's just the way the light caught it. It just
Yeah.
adds a sharper edge to things. But
yeah,
that's
and I
my
don't know if
thing.
it's I don't know if it is. It just seems like it. It just feels like it.
No, it looks crisper on the edges. It's
Yeah.
weird.
That's,
Yeah.
I've taken not obviously with the satellite, but a similar shot. And the only place that you really get that crispness is when the shadows start to kick in.
Yeah.
Everywhere
Yeah,
else, it just glows so much it's soft.
right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I don't know that it was that. It just felt that. Anyway, but my big my big thing is like having it just a split second later where it was across the lighter part of the moon, so that it's in more relief. I know. Again, this is magic make believe world where anything is possible in photo judging. But it's really cool. Like this photo's like, again, this isn't like this. If this was an advanced class, I'd be like, yep, it belongs there. You know what I mean? Like there's so many photos now, like that last bird one of like if you look at the sharpness of that last bird catching a fish, like the
that's
sharpness
one
and
thing.
detail in the feet were like astounding. Like that's amazing. Anyway, so very cool shot. I love this. I
I
want to
could
know.
never get a shot like this. This is way out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, the focal length was like 960 millimeters. Like it was crazy. Yeah, or 860. Like it was astounding. So
This
I don't know if it
takes
was
some serious
teleconverters. or-
planning.
Yeah, well, and that's that too, right? Like you had to have a camera out at night and know where it was going to be and plan for it. And again, that's kind of what I want to talk about is I'm it's really cool to see how many people are putting like effort and planning and execution out into their photos instead of just snapshots, right? This is not a snapshot. Somebody went out with the intention to get this. And I think that's really cool. And this photo's cool. I mean, my critiques aside, like it's a cool photo. All right. So be proud of this one.
Okay. Next is which way? And then WWE in the precision parking lot. I think, Brian, you can
This
talk
is
about that?
mine, yes. Again, speaking to action on this, what I love most about this photo is the capturing of the expressions. It's a great moment that this person caught. The intensity of the guy that's about to go into the ropes, and the almost uncertainty of the guy that's about to throw him into the ropes. Great use of colors. Again, I'm going to speak to cropping. This would be an excellent action shot if it was a little bit wider, where you got the full bodies. In action shots like this, you need to get one of two things: is either a full body, so you actually see all the movement, because it's a still image, so you're not going to see the movement. But this being this tight, you don't get that. And another thing with a wider shot would you'd get a lot of the background crowd reaction, which would also sell this photo. But it's a great moment in time that this person caught. Good job. I mean, for a basic level, this is a really good photo. For any photo, and let me rephrase that. For any level, this is a really good photo.
And next image is Feed Me. Next is Vietnam at Camp Mabry. falling into discovery. Is that right?
Before we leave this one,
Sure.
this is definitely a photo that doesn't belong in the basic level. That's an amazing photo. That's all I have to say about that.
And last in this category is back off. I was here first. Okay, so then we'll go to results. Since we had 21 images, we'll have first, second, and third place, and 3 honorable mentions. So, now how do I get 7? All right. So I lied. Something's wrong here. I gotta double check this. This happened to me before. I don't know why. So let me go back. Honorable mention, Pensive Monkey, Diana Marks. Honorable mention, Gene Thomas. All right. Bear with me here.
The bears come in the advanced class. We don't have bears yet.
Yeah.
We have too many bear photos to begin with, but
I don't know why it's showing.
We have just the bare necessity of photos.
Okay, I know why.
Yoga. God.
Okay, this
that gave me a
is
headache.
messed up
Josh.
because, okay. This is honorable mention as well. That one doesn't go for this. Third place is on a roll, Ronnie Duke. Second place is Jim Smith, who also won the People's Choice Gold Medal for this. And first place was Michael Knox. Nice shot. We'll go back to the People's Choice Silver and Bronze. And okay, the silver went to Charles Schwartz.
That there we go.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. And the bronze for People's Choice went to Ronnie Duke. I'll just combine them all at once. It's easier since the software won't let me separate them. Okay, moving on to the intermediate category, which has, let's see, $14 images. Okay, so the first, so these is, well, you can read the titles.
But we like when you read them.
Well,
Do you really? I hate being on the recordings. Okay, break or break.
There you go.
Uh,
Alliteration.
dive bomb. Keep your head up. Slide jump, slide jump. With a question mark. Face off. Looks like Josh and Brian.
No, yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Rim shot. Duck. That's a frog. Last call for 8-ball. I'm so very sleepy. Wink, wink, nod. Flight. Whoa, she gonna something. She gonna stick it. Happy monk. Okay, looks like our first run through. Now we'll go for the judges' commentary. Again, we'll have 9 images that they will talk about. Okay. Let's see.
Go back.
Great. Charles.
Hey,
Mark, this is Ellen. Mark,
Yeah.
can you move the cursor out of the image space, please?
Yeah, I can. And I'm sure you'll tell me again because it's a bad habit of mine. We all know that.
Yeah.
At least 4 times a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is an amazing photo, you know, in the way, you know, how sharp it is and just the moment. And I love the way the light is obviously coming in from the right and really sharp shadows there. You know, and we got this expression on the horses and the rider's face. It's really a very interesting photo. I did have a few issues with it. One, and you know, again, we're back into photo imaginary land here. The problem is that the horse and rider and even the calf don't stand out from the background. I mean, they just kind of blend the tones of the calf and the tones of the rider. They're like, you know, they don't pop out against the background. They just kind of hide. So I mean, the sharp point, you know, the brightest point there is the forepart of the horse, but it barely stands out against the white of the fence. I mean, you know, this pile of dirt kicking up, which is a great moment. You know, it's you know, it's small. I think some cropping here, you know, would certainly help this, so we are closer to the action. And you know, you know, I'm not sure. The other things are things I'm not really sure that I can get around in you know, in real photo land. I kind of think if the photographer were a little lower, it would put the level of the rider and the horse up above the tree line, because the rider is disappearing into the you know, apart from the hair, the rider is disappearing into the tree line. So, but still an amazing, you know, an amazing moment, you know, just you know, it's like, you know, could you go back to the rodeo and make them choose darker colored animals instead of light color ones, because they disappear into the background. Anyway, but thank you. It's a great get to see, great chance to see a great image.
Okay. Next is dive bomb. And keep your head up. Josh.
Yeah, this is fun. When I first saw this, the way the light was falling off, I almost couldn't tell if it was lit by sunlight or artificial strobe, which I think is kind of cool. But the more I look at it, the more I think it's like bounced light off a building. But it's really cool that the light has a very sharp fall off from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. And the way it hits the bike is really neat. It just kind of illuminates the bike in a neat way. And then to have the person kind of there singing, with the with the graffiti behind as a thought bubble, right? Like a Snoopy cartoon or something. I think that's really cool. And then you have all these little details of, I'm not sure, what's going on, but the same picture in the guitar case is the same picture on the very left of the frame. And so I think that's all really great. Like, I just love the way the light feels coming across this scene. It's got that really cool, like, downtown bounce light going in. And I think the black and white works very well here. We have good highlights, we have good midtones and good shadows. And I think that all works really well. My only critique is I think this would be better as an 8x10 crop. I don't think that basically everything above, I don't know, the keep your head up, everything above that is just, it's cool, but it doesn't make the photo more impactful. I think an 8x10 crop from the bottom up to wherever that crop would be, I think would make the photo a little bit stronger. The bricks and all that, although well centered, I don't think that they necessarily add to the photo, because the heart of this photo is that center with the bike, the guitar, and the graffiti, and just kind of that vignette is the powerful piece, and the top part doesn't. I don't think this works as a 3x2. I think it worked better as an 8x10. But I love this. I love that they're singing, and there's all these little details and black and white toning. Like, it's well done.
Thanks. Next is fly, jump.
Yeah, yeah. I keep looking at this bird, and it brings up some emotion here, because you can see this bird has more fluff on it than it has feathers, and you're going, don't do it. So it really has that emotion going on there, for you. And while there's not much going on in the background. It's all washed, kind of washed into a green background. I mean, the way this textured wooden fence, is driving up into the middle of the photo to support this little poor guy. It brings that little extra element to this photo that makes it, not just another little bird photo. It puts puts some context to it, and gives it some it gives it a little oomph. Oh, and just as a tacky comment, this made me want to change the name of the contest to the indecisive moment.
Yeah. Good point. Next is face off.
The alternative title to this should be "I'm Not With Them."
This one is called Black Lives Matter, and Josh, you're going to talk about this.
I am. I'm going to say props to going out and making photos, right? This didn't happen in somebody's house, right? They went out to, a protest and were a photojournalist. So first I want to say, congrats on going out and using your camera to tell a story. I think we all, no matter what type of photography we practice, I think all of us are trying to tell good stories with our photos. Okay, so good on that. I will say that this doesn't feel like quite the peak of action. We have kind of our central figure holding the sign, but then the person next to her is looking at the phone. The people in the background aren't really looking in any specific direction. We have some of the crowd moving one way and some of the crowd moving the other. There doesn't seem to be that, I don't know, that unity or, all the people moving in action. One of the things that I always hate, I'm shooting like a first dance at a wedding. It's a very tender moment. This couple's like, doing a swirl on the dance floor. And in the background of my photo, there's two people looking at their phones, right? That kind of background kind of kills it for me. And in here, you have kind of three people in the background that are slightly out of focus, just in the background, but they're not really paying attention to one thing or another either. So, I appreciate going out. I appreciate the message you're trying to say. I just don't know that this is kind of the peak of it. I would also say that I like the kind of like blurry what's ever in the foreground. I'm not sure what that is, but I like the kind of sun glare coming off. I think that's pretty cool. The other thing I'll talk about is like where to crop people's bodies. So if we look at our central figure, she's kind of cropped off mid calf. And I think we started from the lower right and just brought it up a little bit to a more neutral place, maybe like mid thigh. I think we would get rid of some of the people walking in the opposite direction. It would make it a little bit more powerful, and just kind of bring up just a little bit, maybe just to the bottom of the people's feet on the lower left. I think that's going to make it a little bit of a tighter story, and it's going to show kind of more people going in the same direction. Good black and white. We seem to have a lot of good black and white conversions. You know,
Sorry, can you say that again? Can you say that one more time?
There's a lot of good black and white. I just don't like it when you do black and white. Everybody else is fine. But right, it feels photojournalist, right? This is the type of photo that would run like in a newspaper, right? You would pick it up in black and white print and be like, oh yeah, cool, I see what's going on. You know, I think it was shot at like with an 85-1.8 at 1.8. So right, the center figure is isolated. You have good blur in the background. It's all kind of pretty. But I would just bring it up from the right a little bit, just kind of punch in just a tad, just to make it a little bit more natural crop on. Right, she's kind of chopped off out at the ankles, right, kind of peg legged. So just bringing that up a little bit, I think would make it a little bit stronger. Or I don't know. I just feel like there could be, it's not quite the peak of action. It feels just before, just after something happened, but not necessarily right during. But good for going out, good for shooting. Yeah, it's good, contrasty. So yeah, cool.
All right. Next is rim shot.
Hey, can I, whoever shot, on rim shot, was high speed sync or high speed flash sync used? If whoever took this picture is on here. Yay, no.
I don't think they're on, or they're not going to speak to it.
That's fine. Okay, never mind.
Oh, she's trying to remember.
It's okay, Josh. If you want to give tips about, it's not mine, but if you want to give tips about splash pictures, you know, they're not easy, and we could probably use some help.
So I looked at the metadata on this one, and it showed that the shutter speed was 1/2000th of a second.
Wow.
Which is fast. I mean, it's not as fast as you can be, but pretty quick, right? 1/2000th, pretty quick. But the stem of the glass is sharp and the foreground is sharp, right? The metal table or whatever that this glass is sitting in is sharp. But if you look at the water, it's blurry. And so I didn't know. This feels like high speed sync was used because I saw that it was shot at 1/2000th. And so I will make this point that high speed sync does not actually help you capture action with a flash, which is kind of counterintuitive. You would think it would. It's called high speed sync. But what it does, instead of firing a flash once to fill the frame, it fires in pulses. Think of Venetian blinds opened. It fires in segments. And so you actually get more blur with high speed sync than you would without it. I know. You also lose power out of your flash. It also makes your flash duration much longer. Because you have to, because it has to fire multiple times, it actually is a slower flash setting. And so when you're using flash settings, you actually, for most flashes, you want to use a very low power setting so that the flash duration is very short. And for splash photography, you want it to fire, usually in a dark room so that the flash is the only exposure. And so that way you're not getting any ambient blur from it. And so, yeah, so darker room, very short, low power, because typically for flashes, the lower power, the faster the flash speed is. And the flash speed is so much faster than your sync speed that becomes effectively your shutter speed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great, Josh. I'm going to make one comment here that I kind of held back on. I've taken a similar picture to this, and I felt that the reason why after cleaning up the photo in Lightroom, I felt the reason why the water was fuzzy was, you know, I've been whitening the background and I got too close to the water droplets, and the cleaning up action going on in Lightroom from whitening the background made the water fuzzier than when I started.
I see.
So I'm sorry if that's a newbie mistake that I'm going to share with you, but yeah, that was something that I did. And I'd love to find other ways to clean up the background without losing the sharpness, but that one
Yeah.
wasn't one of them.
Yeah, it also feels like there was two different color light sources. Like there's very much like a gold yellow light and then a clean flashlight. Like the on the left feels more flash and on the right almost feels either like it was daylight or it was the modeling light from the flash. And
You
so
can see-
you would want to turn the modeling light off so that it's not contaminating, assuming that it's this because it's sometimes it can be a different color balance than the flash itself.
Patty Robertson is putting some stuff on comment
Yeah, I
about
see
the
it.
picture.
Yeah, three light sources. Yeah, so the diffuser might have been a slightly different color than the rest of the modifiers. That can happen as well.
cool.
Okay,
Sorry,
you for
as we
that.
go on like a flash detour. Sorry.
that's all right. Okay, this one's called Duck. Brian, you're going to talk about this.
I am. This is a fun image. I see the wordplay here with the title. I enjoyed it as being a dad. It's fun to catch your kids, being kids. To pull the title off a little bit better, I would have, if you had shifted to the right a little bit, granted that'll probably put you right in the middle of the tree. The way the perspective plays, you could see that the kid is actually not directly under the frog. He's actually, or she is actually way more ahead of the frog and just sort of, probably dancing or, jiving to something or staring at his own shadow as he walks. It's just, this is one of those images that it was probably taken on the fly very, very candidly. And if you were placed in a different spot, you might have captured the action a lot better. Distracting elements on the side of the trees and everything like that. But it's a fun, candid shot.
Next is Last Call for 8 Ball. And Josh, I think you're going to talk about this.
So, yeah, this again, I want to preface it by saying, well, I know who took this photo because I helped with this photo, but I think it's the vision and the execute. Props for going out and trying to make something happen. Okay, it's very hard to have an idea and get people and location and fire to work for you. Okay, so there's a lot of it's that higher degree of difficulty. Okay, a lot of things could go wrong. You could catch people on fire. Your clothes can catch on fire. Have I done it? Yes. So, I think as a starting point, that's a good starting point, right? Having an idea, trying to tell a story in one frame. I think this execution fell a little short of the vision. For me, I would have gone lower angled, more through the flame, right? Having the flame as more of a foreground element, right? To really kind of to jive home kind of what's going on here. So shooting from a lower angle, getting that flame really high and covering up more. By shooting through it, it's gonna cover up more of the person, right? When in doubt, STS. Do y'all know what STS stands for? We're all adults, right? Shoot through shit, right? Shoot through shit. STS. Right. So if we have more flame, right, we're shooting through that, or shooting through stuff if you want to be PG about it. Right. But shooting through that is going to make it a more dynamic photo, right? The flame, even though it's not small, it feels small because it's at the bottom of the photo. So by going low, by making the flames more heroic, we're also making the person feel a little bit more heroic and epic and more of like a fable, right? If they're exaggeratingly big. I saw this was shot at a 15 mil, right? So it's got that real wide. So shooting low, it's going to make them exaggeratingly big, like they're walking through their own like fire fairy tale. And then lighting his kind of midsection, everything from his head to his shoes kind of gets lost. And so a second light could have been cool by providing an edge to it. Another route that could have been gone, right? if he's pouring out drinks of I don't know, a fifth of whiskey or something, right? Maybe that might happen outside of a bar or cantina, and a lot of times there's neon signs. So having some of those like neon sign highlights coming in from some angle might be interesting to try to give us like a subtle lighting cue of where we are. That's one way you could go, but just a backlight to edge out our subject because he gets lost in the background there. And so that makes it.
Speaking to the bar location, bars don't typically like setting fires in front of their location.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you had some different color, like if you had like a light one or something where it's suggesting it, but not actually shooting in front of a bar. Yeah, you're like, this is what I think of you. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you'll get arrested.
You should buy a neon sign.
Yeah.
You're suggesting somebody should use a gel?
I know. I'm a one-trick pony. I am.
No, I mean it's obvious. It's obvious we know who took this photo, but this, and I agree with Josh on all points. This did fall. The vision in my head was way more than what I actually came up with. I'm happy with what it came out to be. It's a good starting point, but if I ever do this again, I know exactly how I'm going to pull it off better. But yeah.
I can tell you that I've had visions for photos. I did one. I did a shoot where I spent, I don't know, close to 4 figures on it, between like flowers and models, and I spent a lot of money. And I literally couldn't look at the photos for over 6 months because I was so disappointed in what they were versus what I had in my head. And it was a painful and expensive lesson. But what I had to learn from that was to take what the photo is and don't judge it over what it could have been. I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up from what we think the photo might have been instead of accepting the good in the photos that we did get.
I mean, you're right. The subject to this photo was very happy with the result. It was a statement to his sobriety, and he was happy with the outcome of it. But as a photographer, I'm very critical of how it came out. But so in the gamut of Josh says mean things, this was not his meanest thing to say.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, I'm so very sleepy. And then we have wink, wink, nod. Brian?
I got a lot of nature photos this time around as far as critiquing went. And I'm enjoying it actually. This is a very fun photo. It's clever. I'm wondering why the third owl isn't winking. Like he's just a rebel, I guess. But I also like the fact that from left to right, there is a slightly different level of winking going on. So you have smaller bird, like really like Joe Pesciing it. And then you have the middle bird that's sort of either opening his eye or closing it in mid wink, and then you have obviously the one on the right, which is just mean mugging you. The one thing about this photo is it's very green. The background's very green, and the natural light from the leaves in the foreground are making the owls a lot more greener than they really are. Color correction would work really well here, or luminance adjusting. Probably luminance adjusting. If you took the green levels of luminance and just brought them down, it would get rid of that green overflow on the bird's feathers and bring out the natural browns and whites and grays of the actual bird. And that's where saturation would also come into play. I ran into a similar problem on the ATX, the Punks album cover. Was when I lit that, it was lit really well, but I didn't factor in the fact that I was shooting on a white backdrop, but just to the left of the subjects was a blue painted wall. So all that flash was hitting that blue wall and throwing some blue halo over the subjects, which I had to like in post fix. But it's a similar concept. Like you have all that light going through all that color, You don't factor it in, but if you play with your luminances, you could easily get rid of that. But great capture. Good job.
Okay. Next is flight. Then, where's she gonna stick it? I hope I said that right.
I wasn't sure how you pronounced that either, but I'll talk about it, and I'll talk about it anyway. My first reaction, of course, was how's your health insurance? Because you're about to lose those fingers. Uh, this guy. I mean, you've got the face. You've just nailed it. I mean, it's not just red reflections from the from the shirt. I mean, that face is red. He's working it. He's sweating it. That's just, and it's so sharp right there on his face and body right there. Good job. And then interesting. What I found interesting was the shadow of him so clearly down in the what do they call it, the pipe. Sorry, obviously not a skateboarder here, but the shadow of him actually shows up down there. Now I got to admit the concrete itself is a little boring down there, but you get what you get. I thought this was a great capture. I'm guessing that there's I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm like, is there some flash support from the left hand side coming in and brightening him up? That's what it looks like to me. But I also like the way that he's up on 1/3 mark, and the arm it's like he's framing the the rule of thirds here for for those of us that are still stuck on that thing. I thought it was a great photo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And the last image in this category is Happy Monk.
This is mine, I believe.
And Brian.
I love this image.
Brian.
I mean, the capture here is incredible. The look of pure joy on that kid's face. I don't know if this is the first time he's riding a bike or this is just something that gives him joy, but it comes across perfectly in this photo. The bright orange of his robes contrasts perfectly to the muted, maroons and golds and earthy tones of the building. I mean, you have a nice background that gives you a sense of location and texture, but it doesn't overpower the foreground element, which is where you're supposed to be focusing. It's very similar to what you said earlier with that black and white action shot, except the opposite. This is, you actually see the separation. There's perfect separation. He is a little hot in his face. The highlights are a little hot. If you'd brought down the highlights a little bit more, you would have seen more of his expression. Like you would see his eyes squinting more. You'd see the lines on his laughter. But that really is the only critique I have against this. It's a perfect capture of a moment in time. Good job. Great job.
Okay. All right. We will now expose the winners for who they really are. Honorable mention, Brian Nixon for last call for 8-ball.
Thank you.
I was muted.
I'm going to skip that for now. Third place, Happy Monk, Nick Grossman.
Good job, Nick.
Good job, Nick.
Yeah, nice.
Second place is Flight by Calvin Poole.
Nice, Calvin.
Calvin shot this?
Calvin always sneaks in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does.
That's
Is he
fun.
here tonight? I don't think he is.
And Brian won first place for, how do you pronounce that, Brian?
We're all adults here, so it's the woes. The whoosh is like, whoa, shit, gonna stick it. Like he's about to say, like he's about to say shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I
he
love his
did-
expression, man. He does not look like he thinks he's gonna make it.
he did land this. This was his 9th attempt. And he's 45. He's my age. He's right about my age, and he still skates like this all the time.
He hasn't
Brave.
lost any fingers yet.
Hasn't lost any fingers. Hasn't I mean, he's broken plenty of bones, but yeah, he's also lead singer of a rockabilly band called the Octanes.
Oh,
Good
that
job.
sounds right.
I mean,
yeah, that all sounds right.
beautiful catch on the face and arms. Let's see. We'll go find our People's Choice winners. This is People's Choice Gold. Nick Grossman.
Is Nick here?
Nick's cleaning up.
Is Nick on tonight?
People's Choice.
No, let's see.
Where are we at? Silver somewhere? Where's the silver?
He was
Hang on.
also
So
the
this is-
skateboarder.
Oh, okay. People's Choice Bronze here, and the skateboarder was our silver medal.
What I love
So
about
congratulations.
what I love about that horse one, it feels like it could have been taken today or 100 years ago. Like it really feels like it could have been
Mhm.
literally any time in the last 100 years. It's like, yeah, if you'd have told me it was from 1950, I'd be like, okay, I believe you. Yeah.
I think it's neat too that
Okay.
they caught the picture before the lasso tightens around the neck.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still real loose.
But then the horse is like,
Okay.
nope.
The last group is the advanced group, and we'll try and move through these just a tiny bit faster. So we have 16 images. First is Rainbow Sunset. Oop.
Where is it?
Calle Ocho moment. Suspended. I am not lunch. Decisive catch. Trying to sway the judges with the title. The Van Helsings. Join me for lunch. I've decided that I'm going to strangle you.
Titles on these bear photos are getting out of hand.
Well, and how many lunch
Letting
dates
out.
can we take? I don't know.
Gull's gone wild.
That's terrible.
And
That's so
and when
bad.
is the video? Come on, there's got to be a video.
Right.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Got milk. Down for the count. Ouch. Got it. High jump.
Not that high.
I'll take point. And let's tango.
So it's one tango and one cash. Is that?
All right, we'll go through those with the commentary. So the first one, let's see, is, let me get my list here. Rainbow Sunset. Josh, you wanted to talk on this.
I do. You know, first up, what a magical moment. I can only imagine being in the desert out in the middle, and you know, you got the sun peak in the back and this kind of rain cloud comes in. Like it's such a peaceful, kind of easy feeling. See what I did there? But no, I think it's, you know, that color is so nice. You have kind of the warm clouds, the blue sky. It's just real nice there. On the lower third, especially on the right hand side, there's kind of a bush on the lower right that I wish wasn't there. And I think, and I don't know, I bounced around with thinking, man, this photo should have been either lower and now I think maybe it should have been taken from higher. Um, because if it was lower and maybe to the left slightly, we'd get rid of that bush on the right. Um, but then we'd lose the mountain. So I think if there was a way to shoot this from a higher perspective, um, I think a good rule of thumb is I don't want to know how tall you are by looking at your photos. And I feel like this one was kind of taken at about person height. And so getting it up where we can see more of the details in the bushes, but we would also be able to see more of the mountain range if we had gone a little bit higher. If you have a tripod, you can kind of throw it up, or a monopod and get it up higher. I just think that would have been a little bit better perspective, because as is, we have a bush on our right that blocks our view a little bit, but then the bushes in the center kind of block our view of that mountain range. So coming up a little bit higher, I think we would have been able to see kind of more of that mountain range and kind of really tell that story, of having that foreground, the middle ground, and then the rainbow. Now the top part of the photo is great, right? The rainbow is amazing, the blues, all the colors, like that's really nice. But we just lose a little bit, kind of that bottom 10%. I wish it was a little bit brighter and a little bit more shadows raised, and maybe the perspective just a little bit higher up.
Okay. Moving on, Calle Ocho moments. Suspended.
Mark, can you move the cursor off screen?
Darn it, didn't make it through.
Just because it can doesn't mean he will.
Yeah. Decisive. No, I am not lunch. Let's see. Okay, I am not lunch.
That's me.
Josh?
Yeah. This is interesting, right? We have the fish looking at the bear and the bear like not caring at all. I think that's
Looking
really
at the photographer.
Yeah, he's looking. He's like, "What? You're gonna get me? Can you not? I can't do it when you're watching." Right? It's just a funny moment because the salmon is very much intently looking at the bear, and the bear just don't care. Also, I think the fur on this one's really nice. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's well handled. A lot of the bear photos we've been seeing, the hair kind of gets a little fuzzy and uncrisp, and I think it looks really good here. It kind of has a nice golden hue to it. We have rushing water. The bear's kind of precariously perched and just doesn't care at all that there's this fish looking at him. Salmon, I know. And also, like, if that fish wasn't there, this photo would have too much kind of dead space in the lower right. But the fish is framed. I keep saying fish. The salmon is framed by the shape of the bear and kind of the rock to the right. And so it kind of has this like its own little internal framing. And so I think that's really well handled as well. But there's just kind of a crispness and a warmth to this one that I like. I don't, I usually say how I would make something better, but I got nothing here. So good job.
I do have a suggestion for an alternative title. It's a quote, or it's like it's a conversation. Fish, I'd like to speak to the manager, and the bear, she'd like to speak to the manager.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like how the tongue's sticking out, like he's about to tell you something. I don't know. That's good. Good bear photo.
Turn around.
And this is perhaps the second of the series. Decisive catch.
I am having you for lunch.
Well,
that has to be later in, because there's no way he could have changed perspective that quick to get from side profile to front profile.
Yeah.
So he eventually caught a fish, maybe not that fish.
it's still an awesome photo.
Oh, it's a great picture. Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've seen a lot of bear and salmon photos, I have to admit, but this one's a good one. I really like the contrast of the white water underneath and the teeth and the claws just really make me worry. So I think that's probably a good thing. I think I looked up the lens, and it was something like 295 millimeters, and I'm going, Is that enough? You know, I mean, I really couldn't find too much wrong with it. I didn't think of looking at the fur like you did, Josh. So every time I do one of these critiques, you know, I'm wondering that you know, my comments are gonna display my ignorance. But yeah, the fur really is great. The only real problem I saw here is that the you know, the fur, it kind of, this is again imaginary photo land. The fur is kind of blurring into the rock behind him, but you know, not enough for me to really count off for it, because it's a hell of a photo. Uh, you know, just the sheer composition, you know, of all the lines going every which way, and this poor fish that's, you know, just had it. Great photo.
I like to see this taken with a 15 millimeter. Okay.
Have you got your Undertaker paid up? If there's left.
Be a scuba diver, right? Be a scuba diver with an underwater rig following up.
Okay, Brian, you're going to talk about the Van Helsings.
Yes, I can.
Neighbors.
First question: is that freaking Rose McGowan?
No, it's my friend Mia.
Okay. That outed the photographer.
Wow. I mean, really.
I mean, there wasn't really any question.
Raise your hand if you didn't know I took this. All right, that's what I thought.
So that being said, I mean, I'm not going to speak to the positives of this photo because but I will speak to something that he is always calling out, and that is chopping off people's feet. Mr. Van Helsing,
I know,
his foot is missing.
It's the only one where he was levitating.
I bet it looked amazing. You should have submitted that.
No, this is the only one where his feet were off the ground like that.
Okay.
Yeah, none in here.
Yeah.
Anyway, everything about this photo is awesome. I mean, I like the theme going on here. It's very, you know, spooky Halloween. I'm assuming this is something they wanted to do with you as a cosplay or something similar. The problem I have with his, and now that I'm looking at it on a large, somehow the sharing screen's larger than my own computer, and I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how that happened, but when I viewed it initially, I couldn't really see his knife in the right hand. It looked like it was an extension. It looked like she was holding a bow versus a stake.
I agree. That's kind of, I was having trouble with that too.
And that's because the blade is black, melds in with the stake that she's holding. And from that perspective, from my initial perspective, it looked like she was almost yanking him out the door. Not like he was flying out the door. And
she was getting mad at him, so I think she wanted to.
And I don't know how his hair is going down if he's moving in a forward motion. That's just odd. But like I said, I'm not going to speak to the positives of this because it's Josh.
Do guys get to do hair flip?
He could. Yeah, he could. Absolutely.
But, I mean, yeah, it's a very fun image. I would have liked to see the rest of the series.
Okay.
Where was this?
It's sure.
Yeah, and Mary, that's actually one of the reasons I submitted this one. It was the most PG, and it was the only one where he was like lifting off really nice. Yeah, she was getting mad at him for like not being aggressive enough. So where is this? So this is interesting where this is. Does anybody know where this is?
Obviously, I don't. I asked the question.
Well, I know, but does anybody else know? It's kind of interesting.
I don't really know it.
Is it the Ney Museum?
No.
It looks like a mission.
Yeah, no. It's the observation tower at Longhorn Caverns.
How do Robertson do?
Yeah, K Place. Yeah, Longhorn. The other fun part about this, it was taken at 11:30 in the morning.
That I believe you managed to take any time of day and make it into night.
Yeah, so we shifted the white balance from, you know, daylight 5200 to like 3000. So that shifted everything blue, then underexposed the background to make it go blue, and then I used a combination of red and yellow to orange up them, right? Because we had one light on red, one light on yellow, and where they hit, that creates orange. So then that allowed them to go back to normal versus the white balance of the background.
Did you have a green light? Because it looks like the brick above his shoulder is a little greenish.
No, it's yellow, but where the yellow just hit the white balance that was blue, you get a little green.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, just
Okay,
two lights.
I'm gonna
move
this on here just so we can keep on schedule.
More food.
This is join me for lunch. I've decided that I'm going to strangle you. Joel's gone wild.
It's so terrible.
It's a great photo. I don't know what
No,
you're
just
talking
the
about.
title.
It's still a great photo.
Yeah, it is.
Got milk. Down for the count. Charles.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like this photo. It's kind of an amazing moment, you know, with the, I'm not really quite sure how you get a photo like this. It's clearly, I mean, it looks to me like somebody's, you know, like there's been a lot of manipulation here. The background looks like it's been whited out, which, you know, don't get me wrong, I do that too. But there are some spots in the feathers that look like they've been over manipulated. And I don't know if that's an art, you know, I don't know if that's a Photoshop moment or an artifact of the, of how it was shot, but there were some places where the feathers, you know, looked like they've been smoothed out and didn't look like feathers anymore. It's really the only, I mean, I really have trouble criticizing advanced level photos, but you know, yeah, that one, that the smeary looking feathers bothered me, but otherwise I'm like, dang, you know, you know, you're kind of going like, well, okay, was there some way you could have hidden whatever what was that's smearing that? Could you have hidden that? Because I really love the photo. Anyway, thank you.
I want to add something real quick. As a graphic image, this is just amazing. I could see this as an album cover easy, or something very similar.
Very dark poetry book.
Very dark poetry. Very. I'm not gonna say Poe or Lovecraft, but and I would venture to guess that it was probably taken in portrait mode and then they rotated it to landscape. That's probably how they got them on their sides. Like this is a bird kind of coming from the top, attacking another bird and grabbing. I don't know. It's also cool that the beaks are almost perfectly matched up to each other. It's just a very graphic, a great graphic image. So kudos.
Hey. Next is Ouch. Brian.
This photo, you know, with the title, made me audibly laugh when I looked at it. When I was judging it, it's a great capture. Not exactly. I mean, I don't know what that bird did to piss the other bird off, but it's just hilarious. Everything is, the focal areas are where they need to be. I mean, this is the advanced class, so I'd expect as much. I love how the textures of the choppy water are at the top, and then you have the birds in the center, which is where your center focus is, and you see the full bird. Nothing has been chopped off, no tips of the wings or anything like that. And then to contrast the, you know, the chaos going in the top of the frame, you have a nice, almost serene look that's separated by the splashing of the birds attacking each other, the one biting the other one's butt. We're adults. But I just like the progression of, you know, chaos to serenity at the bottom, just with the water, and then the birds add a humorous element to it. I mean, if you just had water, this would be a really cool image, but the birds add to it.
Fly United.
Eagles, sorry.
Okay, next is Got It.
Yeah.
Gosh.
All right, bird photos. Let's do this. In my comments, I was saying something like this is right before Tippy Hedron gets eaten, right? Like all these birds swarming around. To me, I think this one's interesting in the fact that it almost feels monochromatic right? Everything's black and white, black and white, black and white, but just a little bit of color where the sun hits the wings. So that's kind of an interesting effect. I would say this is the perfect type of photo to have something other than the same type of bird, right? So nothing's more interesting than a pattern interrupted. And we've established the pattern by having all these gulls there. They're going wild. I don't know. Are they gulls, bird people? Are they? I don't know what they are.
Yeah, they're gulls.
They're gulls, right? So there's a bunch of gulls going wild over a fish being thrown in the air, and which is cool. But it would be neat. What would really make this photo like top notch, right? If there was a red bird or a blue bird or that one other color bird that was different from all the rest as kind of a focal point. This kind of has a chaos feel. I think a different crop would also help that chaos feel a little bit, just by taking the bottom of the frame up to almost the bottom feet. Okay. So keeping it kind of, so almost like a 16:9 crop instead of whatever this happens to be, but bringing up that bottom to make it feel more chaotic and add more tension. By having the amount of space we have underneath, we're allowing our viewers' eyes to escape. And in this case, I don't want our viewers' eyes to escape. So I would bring it up even more and really make it feel like chaos and tension. And again, obviously you can't make this happen, but I know that there's one bird that isn't quite the same, but with everything else being monochromatic, I need a bird with like a splash of color, right? Just as something to think about, or something with a splash of color that was different from the monochromatic, so that we have a pattern interrupted. But the first thing I do is just bring that crop up just a little bit, make it more widescreen format. And I think that would enhance the kind of chaos birds, horror movie feel that's going on here. I'm scared of gulls, by the way. I'm always worried they're going to eat me.
I'm taking it. This is the got it right here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Next is high jump. Charles, want to say a couple words?
Sure. I mean,
good enough. Next.
Anyway, this was almost a monochromatic image at one point, and you're kind of looking at it, but he's just kind of a splash of color in the middle of this gray, and the gray has some really great vertical texture to it that kind of helps enhance the jump. That I thought, and then the white splashes of I think this is a parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. So it's this like the space markers, the grid at the bottom with the numbers, you make him want to be 31.5. And then of course I look at this and I'm going, and your feet and your legs don't hurt doing this? Why? Huh? Anyway, it's a great image. It makes me think of lost youth. Not that I ever had anything. He looks like he's got. You can't see the six pack, but it looks like he's going to have one, and I never had one.
I got one in the fridge. Get that high would be if they drop me from the ceiling. I might get that high, but. All right. Next is I'll take point. Brian?
Fun image. As far as images go in the advanced category, it falls a little flat. It's a kid eating a pizza. It's fun. What would have made this playing with? It looks just like someone took looks like someone took out a knife, or like a phone, and just hit click. It's a snapshot. If it was a phone, or if it was your camera, if you had shifted, like Josh just said earlier about the last call photo, this would have been fun. This would have been way more dynamic if you went from low to high. Like you just hung your phone or your camera down low, getting the pizza more in the foreground, like the crust, and then shooting upwards towards like the pizza leading into his mouth. But it's a fun moment.
Okay. And Let's Tango is the last image in this category. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for.
Or at least that the events category has been waiting for.
Let's see. I'll just do it this way. Okay, so in this category, we've got People's Choice Silver was Decisive Catch. These are going to be out of order a little bit. People's Choice Gold and an honorable mention, Go to Mary Day Long for Suspended. How long did that guy hang up there for you to take that shot?
Same guy. That same guy jumping. He just kept jumping in.
Same guy.
Water. Yeah.
And this is Josh Baker, third place for high jump.
Yo.
Good timing.
He didn't tell me he was going to do that, by the way. It was funny. He was supposed to run, and then all of a sudden he just jumped. I was like, it's kind of
surprising lack of color.
Second place.
Yeah.
Second place goes to Souls Gone Wild, Mary Long.
So bad.
And last, but definitely not least, with first place from the judges and the People's Choice Bronze is the Von Helsings and their bow and arrow. Oh,
yeah.
So, wait, one more thing. An interesting thing about this particular image is the skateboarding title would also work for this title.
Yeah.
Which is?
Whoa, shit, gonna stick it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it looks like he's tripping and about to fall on his face, and he's also gonna stick it.
He was supposed to be like jumping and attacking, and male models are hard to find, and good ones are even harder to find. So what are you gonna do? Funny story about this observation. Last time I shot here, I gave myself a concussion, so that was fun. I didn't concuss myself this time. There's a rickety staircase you can just see a little bit, and on the second story it's really dark. And I totally missed it, and it's this tall, and I ended up on the ground pretty hard. But from the top of this tower, you can see 2 of the Highland Lakes, maybe 3, and you can also see that Falkenstein Castle, or whatever the castle is at Marble Falls. If you go to the top, you can see it. You have a really good view into it from there as well. So,
anything else you want to say about this location? Like you're
it's just a cool spot. I mean, and like they don't care that you shoot there. Longhorn Caverns is cool. You should all go. Actually, so speaking of Longhorn Caverns, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Would anybody be interested in doing, they have group tours available. Would y'all be interested in doing a group cave tour?
Yes.
Photo club group cave tour?
Pretty much whatever you suggest, Josh. I'm ready.
Okay.
Can you wait till I get back into Texas before you do this?
Well, we're gonna have to wait. But yeah, I'll see what we can do in getting that set up. But if that's something y'all are into, we can get them to like turn off the lights and do all that. Like if we do a group tour, we can do kind of whatever we want. But I think we'll have enough people to do a private group tour. Yay, fun.
In the interest of, someone was asking me questions about the production. I will share a couple of photos to the group tomorrow, some that don't really tell you anything really about the movie, but some of the more interesting behind the scenes shots. I've shown one to Josh already. It's a fun action shot, but yeah, I'll post those into the group tomorrow.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay, I wanted to first again thank the judges for all their hard work, and all of you who showed up tonight. I think I see 24 participants. That's pretty good for an online meeting.
Yeah.
I'll pass this word along. We're now through with the monthly competitions for the year. December, we take the month off, but we will have posted online. There'll be People's Choice for Photograph of the Year. The photographers of the year will be awarded in each group, basic, intermediate, advanced, and that'll be based on the points that are already posted on the website, points that have been accumulated through these monthly competitions. But everybody should participate in voting for the top images of the year, and there'll be information about how to do that will be posted relatively soon on the websites, and so we'll announce that at the December meeting.
Oh, and speaking of next
That's
year,
the winners.
and speaking of next year in competitions, if you have an idea for a theme, please submit that to us. And our leadership team is working together to put out a new batch of theme competitions for 2021. We'll probably do half theme, half open again. I think that's a good balance. But if you have theme ideas, throw them out there so that we can add them to the hopper as we make that choice.